Hello everybody, my name's Paul Malin and welcome to Brazil for the 5th round of the FIM MX1, MX2 Motocross World Championship. It's raining outside. We're at the Grand Theme Park of Beto Carreiro Park and Beto Carreiro World, the actual theme park just behind the grandstand there. And, well, the weather since we arrived has been pretty good actually, the odd shower. And qualifying yesterday, the circuit was pretty much spot on, despite it being a little bit wet first thing in the morning. However, 5 o'clock this morning, we had heavy rain, and it has changed the conditions of the circuit, so the qualifying positions yesterday will probably mean nothing, because of course we'll have some riders who are better in the rain than others, clearly. Well, Beto Carreiro World is the largest theme park in Latin America, located in Santa Catarina State in Brazil, and it's been open since 1991. Has a total of 14 square kilometers, which ranks as the largest amusement park in Brazil. Of course, now this Beto Carreiro World will include the magnificent circuit with impressive infrastructure to match and host this 5th round of the FIM MX1, MX2 Motocross World Championship. In MX2, it's Jeffrey Hurlings who has a 40-point lead over his teammate Jeremy Van Horbing, with Tommy Searle just 1 point further back in 3rd. And the guys didn't go out on track this morning due to the heavy rain, but they did have a look at the MX1 guys who went out, all of 2 of them, both of those being the Suzuki riders of Commander Sal and Tanel Leon. Well, there you see a quick glimpse of the circuit. That infrastructure on the left-hand side, what I was just talking about a moment ago, that is actually 2 stories. It's a temporary structure, actually. They take it to all the Brazilian races. They've actually got 2 of those. 28 VIP boxes, doubling up to make 56, of course. That all pretty good. But we're going down to the grid. Here's Amy.
Down on the start line for the MX2 Moto 1 in slightly different conditions than last week in Mexico. We're going to grab a quick word with Max Anstey. Max, last week you looked as though you were having some troubles with your bike.
Yeah, you know, Mexico was something we weren't totally ready for, you know, with the altitude and everything. But no, we're here now in Brazil. It's changed the ball game completely now. Nice and muddy. I'm from England. I love the rain. I got everyone back at home cheering me on, so it's going to be good. Now the game's changed, so it's just about staying on and keeping going for 40 minutes.
Thank you, Max. We'll have a good race. We're going to move down the start line now and have a word with Valentin Gillard. Valentin, you had a great qualification race yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. I make my best qualifying race from the beginning of the season. But today it's completely different condition, so I will see how it's going. My goal is just stay on the bike, so I will see.
Well, good luck. Thank you very much. And we're going to move now down to speak to Jeremy Van Horbing. Jeremy, you took the whole shot twice last in Mexico. Are you looking to do the same today?
I hope so, you know. I think that's the key of the race, because it's really muddy out there, much rain, and just whole shot and keep it on 2 wheels, and then we see what happens.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Okay, well, that's all from us here down on the start line. Let's see the race.
So that was Amy down there on the grid, and she's obviously talking to 1 or 2 riders down there. Max Anstey saying that he's a Brit and obviously knows how to ride these rainy conditions. However, it's a little bit slightly wetter than normal. But let's take a quick look at this circuit, its impressive features. And yeah, here's Justin Barkley, our track builder here, responsible for this magnificent facility. Well, that's the aerial view shot of the circuit here at Beto Carreiro.
So I'm just on the start straight with one of
the track
our
lap time just over 2 minutes long.
Design team, Justin. Justin, we've got a pretty impressive track here.
Yeah, it's something to go with the park. It's you know, took a long time to build, but it's come together pretty good in the end.
And talk to me about some of the preparations. How long have you been out here for?
When we first started the project, actually the site was a rubbish dump and half a lake. So we elevated the whole place by around about 2 meters with soil. They just started bringing trucks, about 250 trucks every hour. So it was a lot of material. So we elevated the place, put drainage in, and then we started to build the track on top of that. So a lot of work, a lot of man hours, a lot of diesel, but the end result is
Justin Barkley talking about the circuit here at Neto Carrero Park. But while the circuit is impressive, you only have to look at the work that has taken place to see that the facilities here are equally as impressive. Brazilian Federation have around 700 metres of grandstands that they can use at any of their circuits, but only a fraction of that has been utilised here this weekend. But what they have used, they've used well and in all the right places. Directly behind the start line, for instance, as long as round 3 sides of the circuit, as you just saw, really giving this a real stadium atmosphere vibe to the event. Even more impressive is the steel structure that makes it the VIP section and the paddock as well. And under the VIP is the press room, the press facility. As you can see, more than big enough to house all the media here this weekend. That was just a fraction of the media that are here this weekend. The paddock itself, plenty of room for the riders to work out of, almost like pit lane garages, but hard standing, covered, plenty of room for the base, and plenty of room for the guys to work in. But while this place is all about having fun, right now it is time to go racing here at Neto Carrero Park. Well, that was a quick look at the circuit. Right now, I can hear the riders leaving the Parc Fermé just to the side of my commentary position. And as I mentioned a moment ago, the qualifying results from yesterday might seem a little bit insignificant now. Jeffrey Hurling's there, lining up on the right-hand side. That's Tommy Searle. He'll be lining up alongside him in gate number 2. They finished first and second in the qualifying race yesterday. Jeremy Van Hoorbeek was third on the Red Bull KTM. And then it was Christophe Charlier on the Monster Energy Yamaha. Jose Boutron was fifth ahead of Jake Nichols, Petar Petrov, and Valentin Guyot. You heard him on pit lane just a moment ago, or on the grid actually, as he was telling Amy that it was his best qualifying of the season, certainly this year. Max Anstey was ninth on the Garibaldi Honda Esta bike, and then Glenn Coldenhoff on the Nestan Gem Racing KTM was 10th. Harry Koulas was 11th, Jordi Tixier, Nikolai Larsen, and Joel Roulants. Roulants having a fall around about lap 2, lap 3, something like that. And then Michael Lead, back from his double dislocated fingers from a week ago in the Grand Prix of Mexico, he lines up in 16th place. Hector Asunciao, the Honda Brazilian rider, is the best of the South American riders. He was 17th ahead of Alessandro Lupino, who was twice a faller, and then Anderson Amaral from Brazil, also riding a Honda. Then in 20th it was Thales Velarde ahead of Eduardo Lima, Andrews Armstrong, Marcel Muller, Leonardo Lizzo, Gustavo Hen, Nicolas Rolando from Uruguay, and then Emiliano Garro from Argentina ahead of his fellow countryman Jeremias Dubano, and Valentin Tellier did not start in the qualifying race, having a bit of a hand injury, Valentin Guyot. Well, there you see, looking down on the gate, our Monster Energy 15-second and 5-second board girls do their job. Hurling's there. This is when you need a hole shot. Hurling's, he tries to go early, and he doesn't get the jump. Tommy Searle does, and he out-drags Hurling's going down the straight, but Max Anstey pulling a hole shot going through turn 1. And this is, Anstey, does he hold it? He's dropped back to second position, or has he? Tries to go around the outside. Down by pit lane, a lot of water on the circuit. Remember, the guys haven't been out on track this morning. Only 2 riders in warm-up, all of them opting not to go out, just to maybe preserve themselves, the bikes, the circuit conditions. Tommy Searle goes down. Roulants, sorry, it's Roulants that goes down. He manages to pick that bike up, keeps the engine running. But Max Anstey in that second position, going up the inside ways in third place. It's Tixier with a hole shot. Tommy Searle in fourth position. Is that Hurling's in fifth? Well, it's Van Hoorbeek there second, Anstey third, fourth, Tommy Searle fifth. Looking to see where that might have been Hurling's going through in about 7th or 8th position. So, well, it's a nightmare for the riders. It's going to be an absolute bigger job for us here in commentary, but the cleanest man on track at the moment, trying to pick his way through, but he makes a mistake, Jordi Tixier. And he's been given, well, an opportunity to lead this race here, and I think we have number 89, Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. Tixier there, 9-11 is second. Tommy Searle third. Charlier fourth. Anstey now in 5th place as they went around that top corner. Right, this is the bit that's going to really catch the riders out. They have a positive camber through here. Through this next right, it drops the opposite way. So there's going to be 1 or 2 fun and games here. There is a line on the bottom there, but look how steep. Well, it doesn't actually show you how steep that is, but I would not be surprised if riders start sliding their way off through that part of the circuit. But clean pair of wheels at the moment. Jeremy Van Horby obviously picking his way through. Didn't go out on the sighting lap. Tixier there in second, 9:11. Who's that? Is that Roulance again, or is that Tommy Searle? Might be one of the locals, actually. Not quite sure, but anyway, Jake Nichols making a good start through the first intermediate split. He was down in around about 9th place. And that first intermediate split over on the far side of the circuit. So as Van Horbeek comes through, through the Romagnoli section, this is on the approach to the big uphill triple that the guys were skying yesterday. It's about 32 meters from point to point. But Van Horbeek, he's the guinea pig here in the opening stages of this first MX2 race here. Round 5 of the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. Tommy Searle now in second place on the Farid Monster Energy Kawasaki. Hurlings, his championship contender, 2 positions further back, jumping his way through the tabletop. Just behind number 911, Jordi Tixier, but how heavy it is coming onto the start straight. They've tried to work their magic, clearing that whole start. Oh, and Van Horbeek goes down, he gets it wrong, coming under the bridge, and Tommy Searle goes through. Van Horbeek keeps it going, but there's electric start on those 250s as well, and he goes down again. So after leading for a lap, Jeremy Van Horbeek throws away a lead and a possible opportunity to pick up 25 points, although we've seen how easy it is. There's Max Anstey just behind him. So we've got Van Horbeek then, who led as he came over the line, has dropped behind Tommy Searle, Jordi Tixier and Christophe Charlier. Hurling's now in 4th place, Anstey in 5th. Petrov, not sure if he managed to find a way through on Jeremy Van Horbeek as he was falling for the 2nd time. But Koldenhoff down in 9th. Nichols in 10th. Dylan Ferrandis, the Bud Rockstar Energy Racing Kawasaki rider, is 11th. They have Jose Butron, Harry Kulas, Hector Asunción, the first of the South Americans. Here we are on board. You watch how muddy this gets. In record time, there we go. That's what it's like. Pull your tear-offs now if you want to. But the fastest lap, 107.9. Or the first sector, should I say, Tommy Searle. It takes a look over his shoulder. One of the... All right, is that Ferrandis? Not quite sure. Anyway, back with our leading group of riders, I think. There's Charlier, 23. So that's certainly the first couple of 3 riders going through. Charlier in 3rd at the moment. That's Tommy Searle struggling with the off-camber. That long left. A rider there in the fence, trying to pick himself up. Christophe Charlier, sorry. Fancies himself here on the Monster Energy Yamaha. Look at him getting over that tabletop, closing in on Tommy Searle. These are the leading 2 riders in the race here. Tommy Searle, the green Kawasaki, what you can see from that front mudguard, legging his way through those ruts. Christophe Charlier, remember he missed the first couple of races due to injury. Came back in Italy, but he's in a prime position at the moment. 2nd place behind Tommy Searle. Charlier takes a look over his shoulder. He's got plenty of room. And I've got to say, the local crowd here, 25,000 of them packed in. They were here first thing this morning. The circuit announcer has done everything he can to keep up their spirits. There's a manoeuvre in the back there. That's Hurlings and Tixier, almost side by side. Pair of goggles hanging off the side of the helmet there of Jordi Tixier. Obviously trying to throw them, that looks like. That's the bottom end. This is the halfway round the lap, the big uphill triple. There are 2 of those. One of the riders coming in might be one of the local guys. Couldn't quite see the number. Oh, Tixier's down. That's coming through past pit lane, I think, is it? Not quite there. Down by the the finish line area. So Tommy Searle comes over the line. He has 4.2 seconds over Christophe Charlier. Jeffrey Hurlings is 3rd, about another 6 seconds further back. Then Jeremy Van Horbeek down in 4th. Max Anstey now in 5th on the Honda Garibaldi Est machine. Tixier came through in 6th position, so that was all right for him then after that mistake. Alessandro Lupino down in 7th, one of the locals struggling with that off-camber at the bottom end of the circuit. Then we've got Jake Nichols 8th, Glenn Coldenhoff is 9th, and look at the carnage, that's Lupino, I think they're trying to get his way through. Quite possibly, no, maybe Michael Lieb actually. Michael Lieb on the Monster Energy Yamaha here. The lead rider for the only rider for Bike at Cosworth Dixon, not inside the top 20, Michael Lieb at the moment. But Jake Nichols is 8th, Coldenhoff is 9, Petrov is 10, Jose Boutron 11, Harry Koulos 12, Hector Assunção of Brazil in 13th, Dylan Ferrandis, Joel Roulons 15th, Talis Velarde 16th, as Michael Lieb weaves his way from side to side through that shallow wave section. Then we've got Marcel Muller 17th, Anderson Amaral, we're waiting for him to come round, Nick Larson and Gustavo Hen. They were your top 20 and they're still starting to come over the line now, and we've only had one official lap complete here in the mud bath that is Brazil. And it's such a shame for the organisers here, Romagnoli and the guys, because the Brazilian Federation 108, I think that was Jeremias Dubano of Argentina getting that wrong just a moment ago. That's Max Anstey going through, trying to square off the camber at the top there. That's Hurlings picking his way through as a rider falls. So is Van Horbeek right on the rear wheel, I think maybe, of Jeffrey Hurlings, but certainly these are testing times for all the riders, but certainly for the number 84, Jeffrey Hurlings, our championship leader. He has 40 points over his teammate, Jeremy Van Horbeek, and 41 over Tommy Searle. Searle leading the race at the moment here in Brazil. And obviously Tommy Searle, he could do with a win here just to turn the tables slightly. And obviously the pressure maybe on Hurlings to at least finish this race with Tommy Searle just ahead of him. Did a bit of work on the track last night, did Justin Barkley and his team. But you can see the braking bumps into some of those corners, making it very difficult to keep the bike nice and stable in a straight line. But there, the Monster Energy finish line jump, Tommy Searle not getting over it, but there's no need to, because you need to keep a nice tight line as they rejoin that turn 1. And he's obviously just trying to make sure he picks all the right lines now, Tommy Searle. Charlier still there in 2nd, 6 seconds further back, there he is, and there's Hurlings as well. So the battle for 2nd now under the Honda Mobile Bridge. Charlier almost off the bike in that final wave, and down by pit lane they go. Van Horbeek there in 4th at the bottom of your screen. Then Max Anstey around 6 seconds further back in 5th position. Then Tixier, we're waiting for Lupino to come through in 7th on the Ritchie Racing Husqvarna, and he goes through in 7th. Jake Nichols in 8th, only just 1.3 seconds down on Lupino. So Jake Nichols maybe fancying his chances. Charlier, it's almost like an enduro through here in some of these sections. Remember, they fixed the faces of the jumps last night after MX1 qualifying. Only 2 riders went out on the circuit. Is that Charlier? Charlier just manages to save his Monster Energy Yamaha, but not for the 2nd time. And Hurlings goes around the outside, gets a face full of roost off the Yamaha. Oh, look at that, Hurlings around the outside of the jump in that right-hand turn. Now that was a little bit, oh no, in fact it wasn't, it was the little raised section there. He took the outside line. Charlier maybe thinking that it was Hurlings maybe going to make a move up the inside, but Charlier getting stuck behind a back marker who takes a look over his shoulder. This is the battle for 2nd position here, 23 and 84. Back marker almost getting in the way there. Van Horbeek just lurking dangerously there in 4th place as he cuts to the inside. And that's Van Horbeek there, the lead rider in that particular shot. Out of this right-hander they go. Searle still leads. He was 6 seconds clear a moment ago as he came over to complete his 2nd full lap. Charlier just struggling to keep that bike on 2 wheels through that right-hander. Again, uphill, slightly cambered through there. So you need a little bit of momentum, but of course you're trying to go through a turn and you need to back off. And at that point you're in danger of tipping the other way. Now the nature of the ground here in Brazil, pretty much anywhere that we've been in the last 4 years, red clay, which means when it's just dry it becomes very heavy, very sticky on the bikes. So the bikes that normally weigh around about 100 kilos in their dry weight, while it's like this, they're not getting much heavier because the mud able just to fall off from underneath the mud plates, mud guards and that kind of thing. However, If it does start to dry out, which will be a very, very long time from now, I would assume, then those bikes will get slightly heavier. But everything that you touch, all the controls, the seat that you're on, will start to become more and more sticky as the race goes on. And you see Hurlings there in the background in third position, struggling to keep on the rear wheel of Charlier. And at this moment in time, maybe it's better for Hurlings to save his eyes, actually, in his goggles if he still has them on. Don't get too close to Charlier, because the whole time you are going to be getting a face full of roost unnecessarily, and then wait for the mistakes to happen just like that. Yellow flag's being waved through turn 2. Tommy Searles only 4.7 seconds clear as he came over the line then on the Fluid Monster Energy Yamaha. Charlier on the Monster Yamaha, Tommy Searles on the Kawasaki, Charlier on the Yamaha going through there in second, just the other side of the golden tie balloon, right in front of us now. Christophe Charlier, Jeffrey Hurlings behind him, Van Hoorbeek. Well, he's made a mistake because he is now, 13 seconds down on Jeffrey Hurlings. Who was that going down? Well, couldn't quite see. Obviously from the front plates, maybe one of the locals, not quite sure, but there's Charlier, he's still in second, we know that. Anstey, only, 6 seconds down on Jeremy Van Hoorbeek after Van Hoorbeek's mistake. Oh, Charlier again through that right-hander. Took a nervous look over his shoulder, knew that Hurlings was probably there somewhere. So under the Invest Trade Bank tabletop, this was a rhythm section, believe it or not, through here. The guys were doubling from the first one to the one that Charlier's just been over, and then stepping up onto that final one to launch themselves uphill here, up and over another, 25, almost 30 meter uphill step, landing right in the corner in almost perfect conditions. That's Tommy Searles just at the bottom end there, at the other side of the hay shed. So he was 4.7 clear of Charlier. We've got a bike abandoned right down there in the bottom corner. So conditions extremely tough for everybody. But after 3 laps then, the riders that have come over are on the line, but now maybe not necessarily in that order. Tommy Searles, we know, is our leader. Charlier there second. That's Hurlings there in third. Number 84 in fourth position. As we look at Christophe Charlier on the Monster Energy Yamaha, we've got Jeremy Van Hoorbeek and Max Anstey going at it for fourth position. Jordi Tixier a few seconds further back, he's in sixth. Jake Nichols now in seventh, Lupino 8th, Koldenhoff is ninth, and Harry Kulas is down in 10th. Ferrandis is 11th. Ferrandis was in a good position yesterday in the qualifying race until he got wrapped up in all the green fencing. And Marshall leapt onto the track and helped him get the green stuff out of that rear wheel. And that, of course, is then deemed as outside assistance, and he was disqualified and sent to the back of the grid for today's race. So Dylan Ferrandis, is that Tommy Searles? Can't quite see the number. No, it's a Fox rider, so that'll be one of the locals. But Ferrandis in 11th, Jose Boutron is 12th, Michael Lieb about to be lapped here by Christophe Charlier. Michael Lieb, the 170 Monster Energy Yamaha rider. Jose Boutron 12th, Hector Asunciao 13th, Joe Roulance 14th, Petrov 15th, Marcel Muller, Talis Velarde, Julian Lieber, Gustavo Hen and Nick Larson. There you top 20 after 3 laps. Tommy Searles over the line now though. He started his 4th, and Charlier goes through 12.5 seconds further back. So Tommy Searles, a good lap for him that particular time around. We're waiting for Hurlings though. He's still yet to come over the line. 10 seconds further adrift of Christophe Charlier, only 3 seconds clear of his teammate Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. So a mistake or two for Jeffrey Hurlings on lap 4. Lieb coming in, he pulls out of the race. Not sure if this is for, are we down the pit lane?
Joining me now in the pit lane, Mr. Kratos Kongsawan, from CEO of Thailand Motorcycle Federation. Obviously, this is our last flyaway race for this year, and next year we'll be in Thailand. How are the preparations coming?
Well, let's cross the world to Thailand. I'm guaranteed that it's going to be a very big fun, you know, racing, party, and definitely we're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to guarantee that it's going to be one of the greatest.
Well, we'll look forward to that.
Well, lovely. Okay, so if you guys want to check in on, can you just check into Thai mxgp.com, mxgp.com. See you
Thank you.
guys.
So we'll,
Thank
of
you.
course, be going to Thailand then for one of the fly races next year. We're not sure which round that will be, of course, but good to have our representative there, our organiser from the race. But back with the racing here, Tommy Searle, who said a moment ago, 12.5 seconds clear of Christophe Charlier. Jeffrey Hurling's third. That's Tixier, number 911. He's currently in 6th position at the moment, and he is 10 seconds down on Max Anstey on the Garibaldi Honda Ester machine. Max Anstey riding number 6. But picking their way through this particular part of the circuit. Is that Anstey at the top of the hill? Yes, that's Max Anstey just going through there. So that is our 5th place rider. And that's Hurlings ahead of him. It looks like Hurlings has been off the bike. So number 84, I'm sure that was 84. It might have been 89. But the lap before, it was certainly 89. Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. And he might have just closed in because... look how off camber that is. It's 84. Hurlings. He's got Max Anstey breathing down his neck now. So whatever mistakes Hurlings has made, he's suddenly finds himself dropping back down to 4th behind his teammate and coming under pressure from Max Anstey. We'll be back in a moment on Motors TV. Under the More My Waves they go. We've got just over 17 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Yellow flags being waved over here. And that is, turn 18 on the track. Max Anstey trying to go around the outside. That's him just coming through now, the middle. Hurlings. I think that is Hurlings, number 84. Or is it 89? Can't quite see. 84 still. Hurlings there in that 4th position now, unless, of course, we've lost Van Hoorbeek. But Tommy Searle over the line. He's 15.5 seconds clear, having completed 5 laps in this first FIM MX2 race. Anstey going around the outside, trying to line up the number 84, Jeffrey Hurlings, our championship leader. Anstey getting a little bit more distance over that first tabletop prior to, and look at that, jumps past Hurlings. So now we've got Anstey in 4th. 16 minutes to go. 16 minutes plus 2 to go here in this first FIM MX2 race. The rider we're looking at now, number 6, Max Anstey, just past Hurlings, going through the finish line area, got alongside him, jumped him onto the finish line jump. And Jeffrey Hurlings now going from 3rd to 5th in the space of a lap. So he's been overtaken by Jeremy Van Hoorbeek, who now sits 3rd. And there, number 6, Max Anstey on that Honda Ester Garibaldi machine. That's him there, the Brit. So Max Anstey then, we spoke about him on the grid at the start of the race, and he said, yep, it's a different game plan. Qualifying pretty much not even an issue now from yesterday, but certainly said he's a mud rider coming from Great Britain, just manages to trials ride his way over that step up. Going into turn 7, just past the first grandstand area on this track. A slight off camber through there, but not the longest or the steepest on this circuit, before he goes past grandstand section number 2. This was a rhythm section yesterday. The circuit deteriorating with each lap. Yesterday we had, 30 riders in MX2. Top of the hill. Is that Van Hoorbeek? I think it might be. Yes, it is. So that's Van Hoorbeek. Well, the last time he came round about a half a lap ago, he was in 3rd place, around about 8 seconds down on Christophe Charlier. But lap times at the moment, Tommy Searle, his best lap of the race, a 2:53.4 on the first lap. Lap times now resembling something more that you would expect around Namur, the infamous circuit at the Citadel in Belgium. And lapping now in 3:10, Tommy Searle last time around. Van Hoorbeek here, 3:08. Charlier was a 3:13 last time around. So Van Hoorbeek getting the distance over the tabletops. That might explain the reason why he's a little bit quicker than Charlier. However, he's still 8 seconds down, or he was at the start of that lap. It's one of those tracks. I was talking to Adam Wheeler yesterday during the qualifying MX2, MX1 race, both of them actually, and he was saying it could be one of those circuits that you actually have to ride rather than race, and that was in drying conditions. But obviously that coming more true now, because with the rain that we had from about 5 o'clock this morning, it absolutely lashed it down against the hotel windows. And the circuit completely unrecognisable. The MX2 warm-up should have gone at 9 o'clock this morning. Nobody went out, and then at 9:35, 5 minutes after the start of the MX1 category, Clément de Sal went out, much to the delight of the crowd here, got the biggest cheer. And then 10 minutes later, his teammate Tanel Leop went out as well. So the two Rockstar Energy Suzuki riders, de Sal and Leop, the only two who circulated the track first thing this morning for morning warm-up. So Tommy Searle leads, Charlier second. Van Hoorbeek has gone through in third, 9 seconds down on Charlier. Sorry, 11 seconds down on Charlier. So a better lap that time around for Christophe Charlier, who was probably the fastest rider on track then, actually. 3:14 Tommy Searle, 3:13 Christophe Charlier, 3:16 Van Hoorbeek, Anstey in fourth, as we said a moment ago, with the 3:17, and then Hurlings down in fifth position with what 3 minute 25 lap time. Tixier is only 5 seconds behind him at the moment. As we look at Petrov, I believe that might be the 152 on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe MX2 machine. And Petrov down in 14th position last time around. I know it's like to ride it in these conditions myself. Sometimes they can be fun. There's Tommy Searle and Charlier. So Tommy Searle and Christophe Charlier have closed right up. Searle's been off. So it was 14.2 seconds at the start of that lap. And Tommy Searle just taking a little bit too long, either finding his way past traffic or he's made a mistake. But Charlier all over the back. This is a battle for the lead right now. Tommy Searle and Christophe Charlier. So, right, there is Tommy Searle, the 100. So Tommy Searle and Christophe Charlier, that's the battle we're looking at. Tommy Searle almost getting hung up in that rut. So too Christophe Charlier. But Tommy Searle, whatever the problem was, leap in again. Whatever the problem was a moment ago for Tommy Searle, seems to have rectified itself there. As we just look through the off-camber, this should be Tommy Searle here, is it? I think it is. Yeah, almost off the side of the bike. Very, very trying conditions. Remember, Van Hoorbeek was getting over this tabletop a lap ago. But in terms of positions gained, or points gained, I should say, in terms of Tommy Searle and Jeremy Van Hoorbeek, Tommy Searle looking at 25 points at the moment. Jeffrey Hurlings looking at, 6? So that'd be a difference of 16. So that'd be 9 points of difference between Tommy Searle and Jeffrey Hurlings. And of course, there's no decision yet as to whether we're going to run a second moto here. With conditions like this, we've got an MX1 race to run, of course, but at the moment, as long as riders are getting round and doing okay, then of course there's no reason not to run a second race. But Tommy Searle there, he's our race leader up onto the triple. That's Charlier just behind him, the battle for the lead with just over 10 minutes to go. Oh, Tommy Searle almost off the bike. He missed the rut to the inside. Was it costly for him? Well, he ends up getting through the next rut. It was even worse for Charlier, who takes another nervous look over his shoulder just to try and check where Jeremy Van Hoorbeek is in that third place. But Max Anstey, is he closing in or not? We'll let you know next time around. Both riders here. Tommy Searle, our leader, as they drop over the Monster Energy finish line jump, and Christophe Charlier, they're only 1.5 seconds apart. So Tommy Searle just needs to keep his head down and try not to make any mistakes. But of course now it's going to be tough for him because he's got Charlier breathing down his neck. And if you need a carrot, oh, Searle's in. Tommy Searle comes in and relinquishes the lead to Christophe Charlier. So I don't know what the problem there is for Tommy Searle. Maybe he's coming back in for new goggles. Who knows? But also I think Van Hoorbeek would have gone through because he was on new gloves then for Tommy Searle. 9.5 seconds for Van Hoorbeek, and he's gone through as well. So it's Tommy Searle coming in. That's him there getting changed. Charlier's gone through. Van Hoorbeek's gone through. So I guess Tommy Searle now down in third position. As we look at, is that Charlier, our new race leader? I think it might be. So number 23, the Frenchman who lives in Corsica, which is French speaking, of course, but he's our new leader on the Monster Energy Yamaha. Hasn't won a race in the 2 or 3 years that he's been in MX2. But he's looking good for 25 points as well. 9 minutes left on the clock, plus 2 laps. Of course, we're looking at the lap times here. That's 7 minutes extra. So the next problem then for the riders is fuel. How long, how much fuel will they have on board? Will we see a cruel twist of fate handed out to one or two or maybe more of our riders as they go longer than normally planned? But Tommy Searle obviously struggling with hands. He'd obviously been on the deck, got his hands dirtied and muddied up, decided to come in for gloves. And he's now looking at possibly being down in third place. Here's Charlier, I believe, our race leader. Number 23, no, it's Van Hoorbeek. So Van Hoorbeek only went through 8 seconds down on Christophe Charlier. He will now be in second position, Jeremy Van Hoorbeek, as Tommy Searle came in to get his gloves changed. Unless Tommy Searle's found a way back through. In fact, he hasn't, but he is closing in on Van Hoorbeek, so maybe a smart move in the end for Tommy Searle. Obviously not able to hold on to the handlebars with wet, sticky gloves, but it just depended on how long, how much time it cost him coming in, relinquishing that lead just like that. But he's certainly got his head down. The body language from the Monster Energy Yamaha rider, Tommy Searle, looks to be pretty positive there. This is Van Hoorbeek just going out of shot. Tommy Searle here up on the pegs, riding his way through that More My Wave section. And he's there, number 100, in third place as the KTM, the Red Bull machine of 89, Van Hoorbeek. He makes a mistake. Searle closes right in. Another rider down under the Romagnoli bridge, and Tommy Searle goes through into second position. So what was a pit stop then for Tommy Searle? Less than a lap ago. He's found his way back past one of the guys who overtook him, Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. And Tommy Searle now back into second. A little bit better control through there, the penultimate corner, than he had a lap ago. And that's Charlier at the end of the start straight, at the end of the finish straight. So what's the gap then between Christophe Charlier as Van Hoorbeek almost off the side of the jump? Tommy Searle and Charlier separated by 8.8 seconds. Another mistake there for Van Hoorbeek as he climbs his way onto the finish line jump. And I think Max Anstey might be closing in as well. But what an interesting race here, and I think we're going to be in for maybe a dramatic finale between the first two. Christophe Charlier then continues to lead here with 6.5 minutes plus 2 to go. Tommy Searle, who we're looking at now, number 100 on that green Floride Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki, has just found his way back into second place. After coming in for a pit stop to change those muddy gloves after making a mistake a lap or so earlier. Julian Lieber going down, and Julian Lieber out of 16th position at the moment, the Belgian rider. So in a moment we'll give you a refresh as to where exactly everybody is, but when the top 10 come over the line. But at the moment it's Christophe Charlier there, number 23. He's our race leader. Tommy Searle is second, Van Hoorbeek still third, Anstey now in fourth place, Hurlings is fifth. He's got an 8-second buffer between himself and Jordi Tixier, the third of the Red Bull KTMs. Then Jake Nichols in seventh on in the Stan JM Racing KTM, so he's having a good consistent ride at the moment. Then Glenn Koldenoff, teammate to Jake Nichols, down in 8th. 9th is Lapino, and 10th should be Joel Roulants. Boutron was 11th at the previous lap as we go by Julian Lieber, who was 16th on the previous tour. That was, we just caught a flash of the number 89 there of Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. That's him just getting round that bottom corner as he goes in pursuit of Tommy Searle. The gap between Searle and Charlier was 8.8 seconds, but there's Charlier, and Tommy Searle will just be coming into view any moment now as these guys try and pick the best way through these ever-deepening ruts. Charlier doing a great job, though, at the moment. So, too, is Tommy Searle, but I think that gap has probably been halved last time around. Wait for Charlier. There's Tommy Searle coming into the corner now. And then Van Hoorbeek. So this could still go any way between Charlier, Searle and Jeremy Van Hoorbeek, separated by 11 seconds after 8 laps of competition. Tommy Searle, that's the first 3 in the same shot. So amazing to think that after all this time, almost 30 minutes, the lead 3 riders are on the same part of the racetrack in deteriorating conditions. An absolute nightmare for videographers and photographers out on this racetrack, but they've still got to provide the images. Glad to see a massive turnout here on this circuit. There's Tommy Searle. This is the battle for the lead. He's closed right back in, and Charlier makes a mistake, looks over his shoulder, immediately tries to rectify it, and Tommy Searle leads once again. So Tommy Searle, the Fluid Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki rider, he's dusted himself down, put on a new pair of gloves and gone out, and he leads again after 9 laps. Charlier 3 seconds down, so Tommy Searle, this would be great for him in terms of the championship, and closing in a few points on Jeffrey Hurlings, his main rival in the series. He'll move to second place as well, having started the race just 1 point down on Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. Tommy Searle on 153, Van Hoorbeek on 154. Manuel there putting the board out to Christophe Charlier. He's trying to go back after Tommy Searle. We've got 3 minutes plus 2 to go. It's still all there for the taking. Our race leader, Tommy Searle, on the Fluid Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. He got a good start. He put himself right where he needed to be, but it was Jeremy Van Hoorbeek who led initially, and then after the first lap fell twice in 2 corners and handed the advantage to Tommy Searle. He put himself in the driving seat, built up a comfortable buffer between him and Van Hoorbeek and Hurlings and Max Anstey, and of course Christophe Charlier, who led for a few laps up until a moment ago. He made a mistake, changed his gloves. That's why those things are looking brand new on those Renthal handlebars of his. Even doubling his way up onto that second step, the huge triple up on the hillside there, dropping back down past the hay shed. And Tommy Searle, well, this is his race to lose now, of course, because having found his way back into the lead after dropping to third after that pit stop, he is looking comfortable, I have to say, with these conditions. And if you ask the riders after this first race, should there be a second race, Tommy Searle will be first in line and say, yep, I should think so. There will be absolutely no problems or no complaints from his side of things, I would have thought. Maybe even for Charlier as well. And Van Hoorbeek, because he's on the podium at the moment. 10 seconds down on Charlier. Anstey still 4th, Hurlings 5th, Nichols 6th, a yellow flag just ahead of Jake Nichols. So Jake Nichols, who's that gone down, coming out of one of those corners? Well, Nichols gets out nice and early. It wasn't Hurlings down, Nichols in 6th place now, Tixier 7th. There's Nichols, oh look at that, he's got Hurlings ahead of him. Number 84, so Hurlings dropping back down, so there could be another point or 2 lost here for Jeffrey Hurlings as he tries to ride his way up and over that rhythm section. That's him on the right-hand side. Lead rider now in shot, Jeffrey Hurlings. Looks like he's got an obscene amount of mud on the top of that helmet, having to almost strain his neck just to sort of see where he's going. That's the problem, of course, when you get that much mud on the helmet. Starts to weigh heavy on your head and wants to start flopping all over the place as you hit the bumps and stuff. But that's number 45, Jake Nichols, now in 6th place, going after Jeffrey Hurlings for a top 5 position. The rain continuing to, in fact, I'm just looking out the window, looks like it's dispersed a little bit. Nichols trying to get rid of some of that mud off the top of the helmet there. The Nistan Gem Racing KTM rider up on the pegs, around the outside, drops into the off camber, a horrible part of the circuit. Get yourself on that ledge, keep it nice and consistent, good throttle control, the order of the day through there. Tixier just behind Jake Nichols, but couldn't quite see how far back. In fact, there is Tixier. So Tixier down in 7th place. Hurlings and Nichols. Not quite sure actually if Nichols had gone through on Hurlings at that point. No, there's Nichols just going through now. Hurlings about a bike length. There was a back marker between them coming out of that left-hander. Waiting for, well, Tommy Searle already over the line. He's completed 10 laps. So we've got 3 to go. That's the 45 of Jake Nichols, the Nistan Gem Racing KTM rider. Charlier 2nd, Van Hoorbeek is still 3rd, but he is 11 seconds down on Christophe Charlier. Then we've got Anstey. We're waiting for him to come over the line in 4th place. Having a good ride himself. The number 6 had 1 or 2 problems last week with Isaac Nichols almost coming to a stop in the corner. Tixier there getting a better drive through the corner, comes alongside Jake Nichols. The bike's starting to overheat now. Lack of air getting to the radiators. So while we mentioned a moment ago about fuel maybe being a problem, with riders and finishing the race. Nichols just having to dodge back markers all over the place. 3 of them parked on the finish line jump almost. I think that was Valentin Guillot, one of those guys, the 173 Scott Racing KTM rider. But Nichols with the white back. He came through there in 6th place. How far was he? It was 4 seconds down on Max Anstey, so he could maybe even get another position here if Max Anstey isn't careful. That's Anstey in the far corner there now, the right-hander. Whoa, the back end coming round on one of the other guys there. Couldn't quite pick out the number on the back of the shirt, but whoa, what a race this is turning out to be for, well, all the reasons that you can see. It's more like an enduro, but 3 laps to go. Searle leads. He's 4 seconds clear of Charlier. Jake Nichols tries to leg his way through on the Nissan GM KTM. He's got just over 2 laps to go in this first FIM MX2 motocross race here. Beto Carreiro theme park in Brazil, south of Sao Paulo. These guys never went out on track for the sighting lap. They didn't go out on the warm-up lap either, or the warm-up practice first thing this morning at 9 o'clock. So they literally went into a quagmire on the very first lap of this race. Tommy Searle is our leader at the moment. He has 4.1 seconds over Christophe Charlier, former race leader. Then we've got Jeremy Van Hoorbeek, who led the opening lap, crashed twice in consecutive turns, coming out of turn 1 and turn 2 on lap 2. And then we've got Jeffrey Hurlings back into 4th position now. He's found a way past Max Anstey. So that's a couple of points gained for Jeffrey Hurlings. So maybe Anstey made a mistake there, who knows? But it's Hurlings, Anstey, then Nichols. They're your top 6 at the moment. Then we've got Tixier, Glenn Coldenhoff, Alex Lupino is 9th, and then in 10th, Jose Boutron on the Digger Racing KTM. There's Lupino going through in the red shirt, number 77. Tries to keep a tight line at the bottom of the hill, but Boutron goes around the outside of him. So Lupino losing, 9th place there in that manoeuvre, as we pick up Tommy Searle, our race leader. Picking his way through the deep ruts. Just a couple laps to go for Tommy Searle. He's gone through the 2-lap board, 13 seconds clear of Christophe Charlier. Lap times, look at those babies. 3:14 for Tommy Searle last time around, 3:22 for Charlier, 3:23 for Van Hoorbeek. We're waiting for Hurlings, who was a 3:35.9 on his 10th lap. Of course, Tommy Searle, Charlier and Van Hoorbeek all completing 11 laps at the moment, but it's not easy. It's going to be an interesting end, that's for sure. Christophe Charlier pops up over the uphill triple. That's what it was on Saturday during the qualifying race. It's now a step up onto the middle plateau, and Christophe Charlier almost 13 seconds down on our race leader. Tommy Searle, number 100 on the Fluid Monster Energy Kawasaki. Those ruts getting deeper by the lap. He's got just over a lap to go here, and that Yamaha is blowing smoke. It's overheating. The mud all in the radiators. They have got standard radiators on these. They used to, 10, 15 years ago, run factory radiators slightly larger in their capacity. But the production bike's now so good out of the box, out of the crate, that the team's generally running the radiators. That's Hurlings. So that was Hurlings there, and have we lost Hurlings? Hurlings has dropped back. Hurlings is down in 11th position. So this is going to be an expensive race for Jeffrey Hurlings, a championship leader. So at the moment then, after 11 laps, we've got Tommy Searle, Christophe Charlier, Jeremy Van Hoorbeek, Max Anstey now in 4th, Jake Nichols 5th, Glenn Coldenhoff is 6th, Jose Boutron is 7th, Tixier 8th, Roulant's 9, Lupino 10, Harry Kulas 11, and we're still waiting for Jeffrey Hurlings to come over the line in 12th position, and obviously that is going to be the main talking point after this race is over. Jeffrey Hurlings was sitting pretty in 4th place. That would have been good enough for 18 points, and only a 7-point loss to this guy here, Tommy Searle, in respect of the championship. But Herlings does come over the line now, but he's almost 30 seconds down on Harry Kulas. So Herlings down in 12th place at the moment. Tommy Searle takes the one lap board there on the left. He's on his final lap here in this first FIM MX2 Moto. Up on the pegs for as long as possible through that rut. Nice line, Tommy, through there. And he's making it look so easy despite these treacherous conditions here in Brazil. Christophe Charlier, we wait for him to come over the line. And he does so now, 19 seconds down on Tommy Searle. So we have a Brit leading a Frenchman, and Jeremy Van Hoorbeek 9 seconds further back in third. Waiting for Max Anstey to come through. There's Charlier, he's second in the race, number 23, the Monster Energy Yamaha rider. And Max Anstey, we're still waiting for him to come through, the Honda Garibaldi Ester rider. He'll be pleased with this, that's for sure. Jake Nichols as well, wait for those guys to come through. But all eyes will be on Jeffrey Herlings, currently buried down in 12th place. That's making a lap, just a mistake a lap ago. We're looking at Charlier, our second place rider in a race. Somebody getting caught up on the top of the tabletop there. Still waiting for Max Anstey to come through. Just looking at the timing screen at the moment as Charlier goes through there in second position, or is that Tommy Searle? Could be Tommy Searle actually up and over the Monster Energy jump. Taking his time just to get steadied in that rut. Not in a hurry, Tommy Searle. He has a little bit of time. The rut's down there, foot peg deep. Just got to get through this part of the circuit. This is the only area for Tommy Searle just to heed caution. Still waiting for Anstey. Anstey comes over the line now in 4th place. So 2 minutes and 3 down on our leader, Tommy Searle. Then Jake Nichols right on the rear wheel, about 6 seconds further back of Max Anstey. So we've got, 3 Brits in the top 5 here. Goldenhoff is 6, Boutron 7, Roulant's 8. Waiting for Tixier to come through in 9th as we continue to look at Tommy Searle. Through them all my ways for the final time. Tixier goes through in 9th place. Still waiting for Alessandro Lupino. But Tommy Searle, just a couple corners from home. Just needs to keep it all up on 2 wheels. He's got about 4 corners to go, Tommy Searle. Well, Tommy Searle comes out of the penultimate corner, makes his way into the final turn. And Tommy Searle is going to be victorious here in Moto number 1 in Brazil. He gets over the first jump, rolls down a second, takes the checkered flag, and the Monster Energy finish line jump. It's been a hard graft, but Tommy Searle picks up 25 big ones and victory in Moto number 1. We're waiting for Christophe Charlier to come over the line now. So Tommy Searle then, he'll be glad that it's all over. And he'll be pumped as well. We're still waiting for Jeffrey Herlings to come through in 12th position at the moment. So he'll be keeping an eye on that. He'll go through the pit lane any time now. Charlier is over the line. There's Van Hoorbeek, comes out of the final corner. He'll come through in 3rd place. So the leading Red Bull KTM rider, Jeremy Van Hoorbeek, this time around. Of course, it was more than 2 minutes before we saw Max Anstey come over the line in 4th place. And here's Tommy. Let's see if we get a flash interview with him. Yeah, it's a hard race. Doesn't look too happy there, Tommy Searle. So Tommy Searle looking a little bit disappointed there at the moment. So Tommy Searle then. Tommy Searle wins MX2 Grand Prix race 1 here at Beto Carrero in Brazil. Didn't look too happy when he took his helmet off either, so I'm guessing that he's probably a bit concerned about the conditions and how fast they deteriorated in the rain and the mud. Of course, we've got MX1 race 1 to go off any moment as well, so Tommy Searle, you know, it'd be interesting to hear his interview after the race, but Tommy Searle, the winner from Christophe Charlier, 24 seconds clear in the end. Van Hoorbeek was third, and we're waiting for Max Anstey still to come over the line. He was fourth at the end of the previous lap. Max Anstey does come over the line in fourth, so he'll be pleased, and so will Mum and Dad and all the family back home as well. So good points on the board for Max Anstey. Roulance was fifth in the end. The second of the Monster Energy Kawasaki's, and then it was Glenn Coldenhoff. He's registered in sixth position. Jake Nichols, seventh for him. So that's all official. And we're waiting for Boutron to come over the line, but and also we need official confirmation as to where Hurlings came over the line. Well, there's Boutron going through, and Tixier. They were 8th and 9th. We're still waiting for Alessandro Lupino to come over the line on the Ritchie Racing Husqvarna, right at number 77, the Italian. But while there are still guys out on the track, obviously there is a 5-minute cut-off point from the end of the race, in which a result is Harry Koulas. Harry Koulas comes over the line then in 10th position. We're still waiting for Lupino. More importantly, we're still waiting for Jeffrey Hurlings. If it's only 12, that's only 9 points for him as we look at a replay of Tommy Searle coming over the line to take another race win in 2012. He won the second moto in Bulgaria to win the overall Grand Prix, and that's his second race win of the season. We'll be back in a minute with FIM MX1 Race 1. Don't go away. Well, for those of you on MX Live,